It's just a car. You're ruining the family over a car." But what they didn't know was that I'd been silent for 15 years, and this time I wasn't staying quiet. Stay with me to see what happens when the one they underestimated finally fights back. The morning sun had just crept over the edge of my blinds when my phone buzzed with a flight confirmation. Thursday, 10:15 a.m. Out-of-state client pitch in Charlotte. I had everything prepared. Deck finalized, outfit pressed, agenda printed. All I needed was my car. It wasn't parked outside my apartment, but that was normal. I kept it stored in a private garage 10 minutes away, a space I paid extra for when I bought the car. A 2022 deep graphite Audi S5 coupe. Custom trim, heated leather seats. I had chosen every feature after closing my first major portfolio. A reward. A reminder that I didn't need anyone. I grabbed my bag, locked the apartment, and called a rideshare to the garage. The elevator dinged at level B2, and I stepped into the dim concrete lot expecting to see her sleek silhouette in bay number 19. Nothing. For a second, I froze. Maybe I'd parked in the overflow lot last time? I double-checked the floor signage. No mistake. I found the attendant in the front booth, a tired guy in a navy windbreaker sipping a milkshake. "Hi," I began, trying to sound composed. "The Audi in bay 19? Is it in for maintenance or something?" He blinked slowly, then turned to the screen. It was picked up. 3 days ago." "Picked up?" My voice cracked slightly. "By who?" He scrolled. "Says authorized release. Family member. Your dad." Signed his full name, I stared at him. "That's not possible." He shrugged, already turning back to his drink. Looked like him. Said it was urgent. I didn't remember the elevator ride back up. My pulse roared louder than the concrete hum around me. The car was mine. Registered, insured, titled. To me. I'd paid the taxes. The plates were custom. I hadn't authorized anyone. By the time I pulled up in front of my parents' house in a rental sedan, my heart had switched from disbelief to dread. The siding was still chipped, the porch still too cluttered with wind chimes and old shoes. Mom answered the door with a smile too bright for 9 a.m. "Nat, what a surprise." "I need to talk to Dad," I said. "Now." She blinked, then nodded and stepped aside. Dad was in the kitchen, stirring sugar into his coffee like the world was perfectly fine. "Morning, sweetheart. Where is my car?" He looked up, genuinely puzzled. "Oh, that." "That," I repeated slowly, gripping the back of a chair. "We needed it for Chloe," he said, like he was commenting on the weather. "She's been struggling, you know. And it was just sitting there." "Sitting there?" My voice went sharper than intended. "It wasn't a spare key, it's mine." "Well, technically we figured—" Mom started, then trailed off. "Figured what? That I wouldn't notice? That I'd just let it go?" Chloe appeared at the kitchen threshold in sweats, hair in a messy bun, scrolling her phone. "God, you're so dramatic. It's a car." "You took my car," I said. "Without asking, without telling me." Chloe snorted. "You weren't using it." I turned to Dad. "You forged a release." He waved his hand. "Don't be so formal. It's not a lawsuit." I didn't answer. I pulled out my phone, opened my cloud drive, and accessed the vehicle title PDF. I'd uploaded a copy when I bought the car. The original file had my name, my signature, my VIN. Now, the signature box read, transferred. New name, Chloe Rivera. I stared at the screen for a long time. My own name had vanished, like I'd never owned anything at all. I said nothing as I turned and left. The front door clicked shut behind me. I didn't slam it. In the rental, my hands shook on the steering wheel. I dropped my phone onto the passenger seat, face up. A message lit the screen. "Claire, call me. I think I know what happened to your car. They didn't just take the car. They faked my signature to make it legal and pretended it was no big deal. The coffee shop was nearly empty when I walked in. Late afternoon sun slanted across the counter, catching in the dust motes and leaving gold streaks on the wood grain. I spotted Claire at a corner table, already sipping something dark and unsweetened. She looked up, raised a brow, and tilted her chin toward the seat across from her. "You came fast," she said. "That bad?" I sat down and folded my hands. "They took my car. Dad signed it over. Said it was for Chloe. Like I owed it." Claire didn't react right away. She reached into her purse, pulled out a manila envelope, and slid it across the table. "Then you'll love this." Inside was a printed copy of a DMV-issued bill of sale. I scanned the details. Date, VIN. License number, recipient, Chloe Rivera. And the signature, Natalie Rivera. I stared at it for a full minute. It was mine. Almost. The loops were wider, the stroke pressure wrong. Someone had practiced. "Where did you get this?" I asked. "I have a friend at the clerk's office," Claire said. I told her I was concerned someone might have been impersonated. She ran the paperwork for me. I looked up. "This is illegal." Claire took a long sip of coffee. "So is what they did to me." I said nothing. "2 years ago," she went on, "your mom told me Chloe was spiraling. Anxiety, burnout, all that. She asked me to help. So I wired $5,000 to cover a so-called wellness retreat in Arizona. Chloe sent me one thank you text and then ghosted me for 6 months." I shook my head slowly. "They always make it sound urgent. Like you're cruel if you ask questions." Claire's lips tightened. "Exactly." I leaned back and closed my eyes. My throat burned. I wasn't surprised anymore. But I was still stunned. There's a difference. A memory bubbled up. Me at the dealership 3 months earlier, beaming like a fool as the salesperson handed me the key fob. I'd checked every line of the contract twice. Even snapped a photo of the license plate from my folder. I'd saved for that car through 5 promotions and 4 years of saying no to everything fun. Another memory. 17 years old, saving for a chemistry camp. Chloe borrowed my envelope of cash for a Coachella ticket. "I'll pay you back next week," she'd said. She never did. The sound of a notification broke my focus. I pulled out my phone. Instagram. Chloe had just posted a photo. She was leaning against the hood of my Audi. Correction, her Audi now. Posing in sunglasses and a cropped sweatshirt. The caption read, "Number, blessed number, manifested number, best life, I didn't feel anger." Not immediately. Just cold clarity. I turned my phone over and looked back at the bill of sale. "I didn't sign anything," I said aloud. "No," Claire agreed, "but they're counting on you not to fight it." When I got back home, I opened my laptop and logged into my DMV portal. There it was, a record of the title transfer, authorized digitally. Attached was a compressed image file, my forged signature, uploaded and processed. There was also a line I hadn't noticed before. Signature verified via remote access. They'd used my old backup email, the one Dad set up for me in high school. I sat still for a moment, then opened another tab and logged into the security camera account linked to the garage. The footage loaded slowly, static lines and timestamps flickering by. Finally, I found it. A grainy clip timestamped 3 days ago. The camera caught the garage entrance from an angle. A man approached, holding papers. He handed something to the attendant. Chloe stood nearby, arms crossed, laughing at something he said. My father took the pen and scribbled. Natalie opens her garage security camera app. A grainy video shows Dad signing paperwork, while Chloe laughs nearby. They weren't just stealing. They were betting I'd be too polite to stop them. The apartment was quiet, save for the hum of my fridge and the muted click of my keyboard. It was close to midnight. I hadn't eaten dinner. I wasn't hungry. My desk was covered in printouts, manila folders, and post-it notes like I was prepping for court. In a way, I was. I opened my saved files. 3 folders labeled: documents, video evidence, Signature comparisons. Inside were screenshots of Chloe's Instagram post, the forged bill of sale, and the garage camera footage I'd clipped and bookmarked. In one video still, my father's handwriting looped over a signature line that didn't belong to him. In another, Chloe waved her hands like she was conducting a victory speech. It wasn't the theft that stunned me. It was the sheer confidence. 12 years old, I'd saved $20 a week for a chemistry set I saw in a catalog. When I finally had enough, the envelope disappeared from my drawer. I found out later Chloe used it for Sephora lip kits. "You weren't going to use it right away," she'd said. "I'll replace it." She never did. Now she'd done it again. Just scaled up. I clicked open a new browser tab and searched for Fraudulent Title Transfer California. A few links down, I found what I needed. Department of Motor Vehicles, Fraud Reporting and Complaint Process. I filled out the online form, uploaded supporting documents, then cross-referenced the same information for my car insurance company. My inbox chimed. A reply from Mr. Adams, my former employment lawyer. Subject: Personal legal matter. Urgent Natalie. Attached is a preliminary action plan. Suggest you print and notarize the statement before Thursday. We'll meet at 3 p.m. to file with both DMV and your insurer. I exhaled. Not relief, just confirmation. I wasn't making a fuss. I was filing the truth. The next morning, I walked through the glass doors of Adams and Becker Law, greeted the receptionist, and was ushered into a side office. Mr. Adams wore the same steel blue tie and unreadable expression he'd had the day I reported workplace retaliation 2 years ago. He never asked irrelevant questions. "You've done most of the work already," he said, flipping through my folder. "That's rare." I didn't smile. "I'm used to being the only one documenting things." He nodded, tapped a few keys, then looked at me. "Once this is filed, they'll investigate. The DMV could reverse the title. The insurance company may seize the car as disputed property during the inquiry." "Good," I said. He paused. "Just be prepared. People get louder when they realize you're serious." I met his gaze. "Let them." After the meeting, I sat alone in my car and stared at the rental dashboard. Everything in my life was digitized: paperless billing, synced calendars, direct deposit. But somehow they'd still treated me like I was nothing more than an access point. A door left unlocked. Not anymore. That evening, I made a list. Cancel joint phone plan. Remove dad as emergency contact. Freeze co-signed credit card I never used. Change old backup email linked to DMV. Then I pulled up a housing site. There it was. An apartment across town. 1 bedroom, clean space, no shared walls. I applied. Same-day approval? I didn't tell anyone. Later, I opened TikTok. Just curiosity, I told myself. Chloe had posted again. She spun in front of the Audi, holding the keys like a trophy. A voiceover played. "When the universe says yes, it says YES. Caption: #abundance. #deserve everything. #manifested. I closed the app." 2 days passed. Then, at 9:18 a.m. on a Thursday, I received an email from my insurance provider. Subject: Title fraud investigation, action scheduled. Dear Ms. Rivera, our investigation has led to a hold on Vehicle VIN number XXXX. A towing service will retrieve the car for asset protection and review. Estimated action: within 10 days. I didn't reply. I forwarded it to Mr. Adams and starred it for my records. That night, my voicemail icon blinked. Dad's voice crackled through the speaker, calm but tight. "You've made your point, Natalie. Now be reasonable and take this nonsense back." They called me heartless for finally saying no. At 7:12 a.m., my phone lit up with a notification from the insurance company. Vehicle VIN number XXXX has been retrieved for investigation. Action complete. There was no fanfare, no warning call, just a quiet, automated confirmation that the car was gone. By 7:45, my text inbox was exploding. Chloe, what did you do? Chloe, they took the car. Chloe, this is insane. Chloe, you're actually crazy. I turned the phone face down. Across town, I imagined the scene. The wail of an engine hoist, Chloe shrieking at a guy in a reflective vest, neighbors peeking through blinds. She probably ran outside barefoot. She probably thought it was a mistake. She always did. I walked to my kitchen, poured coffee into the mug Claire had given me. Cream ceramic, gold cursive. Not my problem. The apartment was clean, uncluttered. Mine. Another text lit up the screen. Dad, call me now. You've gone too far. Then, voicemail? 0052 seconds. I didn't listen. At 10:03, the receptionist at my office buzzed through the line. Natalie, your father's here. He says it's urgent. My stomach didn't drop. I had already braced for this. Tell him I'm unavailable, I said. She hesitated. He's not happy. He'll survive. He didn't wait in the lobby. He left in under 5 minutes. I opened a blank spreadsheet and began entering line items. Title, 15 years of damage. Chloe's private SAT tutor, $1,200. Chloe's unpaid car insurance, 2019. $1,487. Chloe's emergency dental surgery. Dad put on my card. $3,240. Mom's medical copay? I covered silently. $800. Rent loan during Chloe's gap year. $2,600. Interest on co-signed student loan. Still unpaid. $5,924. Birthday gift they forgot. Reimbursed by myself. $120. It kept going. There was no rage in the process, just arithmetic. I adjusted for inflation. I added footnotes. I included screenshots, receipts, even timestamps. At 1:11 p.m., my phone rang. Claire. Just checking in, she said. I assume the fallout's begun? They're spiraling, I said, sipping. But it's quiet now. Claire let out a slow breath. You're not cruel. You're just finally not carrying them anymore. I stared out the window, the traffic in the distance, the light dusting of pollen on the sill. That used to be called love, I said. Now it's called detachment. Claire didn't disagree. At 4:23, I exported the spreadsheet to PDF, attached it to a blank message, and sent it to the family group chat. Subject line, account summary, 2008 to 2023. No greeting, no signature, just numbers, facts. The math of being invisible. Then I closed the app and silenced the phone. At 4:31, the receptionist's voice crackled through the intercom again, lower this time, hesitant. Natalie, your father is back. He says it's urgent. Forgiveness is overrated. Closure is underrated. I was microwaving oatmeal in the office break room when I heard his voice. Natalie. I turned. Dad stood in the doorway like he had every right to be there. Shirt slightly wrinkled, hands in his pockets, eyes full of something between frustration and fear. I didn't speak. He took a step closer. It's just a car. You're ruining the family over a car. I stirred the oatmeal once, slow. Then I looked up. It's never been about the car. It's about everything before it. He blinked, like the idea was foreign. I let the silence hang there, thick and unwelcoming. Then I walked past him, bowl in hand, and didn't look back. That afternoon, I logged into my HR portal and submitted a formal change of address. I updated my emergency contacts, removed both parents. I changed my phone plan, switched banks, unlinked every automatic payment I hadn't already shut down. Then I printed one final form. The joint checking account Mom had opened in my name when I was 17, just in case we need to transfer you something quickly, had been dormant for months. Still, they had access. Still, it tied me to them. I stood in line at the bank with the closure form folded in my palm like a benediction. When the teller asked if I'd like to notify the other account holders, I smiled. Number let them find out the way I found out about the car. She didn't respond, just stamped the page and slid the receipt across the counter. When I got back to my new apartment, a third-floor walk-up with one bedroom, hardwood floors, and windows that faced the afternoon sun. I sat on the floor with takeout and nothing but silence for company. It didn't echo. It rested. Later that night, Claire called on video. Her background was soft, a warm kitchen, lamplit. She looked tired but present. "I heard Chloe's throwing a fit," she said. I raised a brow. "Still?" "She tried asking your parents for another car. This time they said no. Apparently, they told her to either get a job or move out." I sipped my tea. "That's new." Claire smiled, just a little. "Not sure it'll last, but it's something." I didn't comment. I didn't hope. The next morning, an envelope arrived. Thick, cream-colored with embossed lettering. West Coast Women's Empowerment Conference, fall series inside was a program. My name was printed under a bold serif header. Panel. When family crosses the line. Stories of boundaries and becoming. I stared at it for a long time. The paper felt heavier than it looked. Claire had told me months ago, "You should write this down. Say it out loud. Let someone know they're not alone." I hadn't known how to begin then. Now, I didn't need to begin. She opens the event program and sees her name under a session title, "When Family Crosses the Line." They never said thank you, but I stopped needing it. The conference hall shimmered under cool white overheads, floor-to-ceiling windows casting geometric shadows onto a row of minimalist chairs. Everything felt sharp and purposeful, like a clean start. The room held no perfume of apology, no space for unspoken debts, just clarity. I stepped up to the podium as the host introduced the panel. My voice didn't shake. It had before, years ago, in kitchens and living rooms, asking to be heard. Now it didn't ask. It spoke. "I used to think loyalty meant silence," I began. "That being a good daughter meant never saying, 'This isn't fair.'" No one moved. The silence welcomed truth. "I bought a car once. My first big purchase. It wasn't just metal and paint, it was proof that I could build something from scratch, without help. That I could choose for myself." I paused. "They took it," I continued. "They forged my name, handed it off, and told me I was making a big deal over nothing. But it wasn't the car that hurt me. It was the assumption that I'd take it, that I always would." After the panel, a few women approached. Some nodded without words. One hugged me and whispered, "Thank you." Later, as I packed my notes, a girl no older than 20 stepped forward, eyes wide and cautious. "Do you ever miss them?" she asked. I considered the question. "I miss the version of them I hoped existed," I said softly, "but not the reality." That night, I walked home. The city buzzed around me, but it felt far away, like a sound from a memory that no longer belonged to me. At home, I opened my laptop and wrote a short post. The car wasn't the theft. My voice was. Underneath, I added, "I thought freedom came with keys. Turns out it comes with boundaries." Just before bed, a message lit my screen. "Claire, you didn't just save yourself. You reminded me I could have walked away too." I stared at those words for a long time. Then I opened the bottom drawer of my desk. Inside was a worn journal from when I was 9. Flimsy lock, fraying corners. On one page, in bubble letters, I had once written, "Things I'll buy my family when I'm rich. A house with a pool. A red car for Mom. A camera for Chloe. A guitar for Dad." I smiled, not bitterly, just gently. Then I closed the journal and slid it into a box labeled Past. I didn't throw it away. I didn't need to. Outside, the sky dipped into gold. I took a blanket to the balcony and sat on the chair I'd assembled myself. No one else's fingerprints on it. The sunset didn't ask questions. It just arrived. I wrapped the blanket around my shoulders and whispered to no one. "This is mine. All of it. People ask what it feels like, the moment everything stops revolving around someone else. They expect fireworks, or sobbing, or maybe a slow, satisfying smile in the mirror. I wish I could say it was cinematic. But truthfully, it felt like the quiet after a power outage, when the hum you didn't realize was there is suddenly gone, and for the first time you can hear your own breathing. It had been 2 months since I left the car, the house, the arguments behind. No more joint accounts, no surprise voicemails, no family group chats vibrating in my pocket like a fire alarm I couldn't turn off. Just space. I thought the silence would be unsettling. It wasn't. It was expansive. I began waking up without flinching. My mornings became a rhythm of choosing. What music I played, what mug I reached for, what I said yes or no to. Nobody asked me for favors thinly disguised as obligations. Nobody dropped guilt like a hot stone in my lap and expected me to carry it. But old habits die hard. Even without their voices, mine took time to come back. I kept the journal closed. I didn't unlock it again. I didn't need to reread the childhood lists, the promises I once made to people who saw my effort as currency and nothing more. Instead, I started making new lists. Books I want to read. Dishes I want to learn. Places I want to drive through. Windows down, I added one more. Things I'll buy for myself without explaining to anyone. It was a Saturday afternoon when I ran into her. Chloe. I hadn't planned it, and I certainly hadn't hoped for it. She was standing outside a cafe downtown, scrolling through her phone, sunglasses perched atop her head. She looked thinner, or maybe just smaller. She didn't notice me at first. I could have walked by. I almost did. But something in me paused. Not curiosity. Not pity. Just closure seeking a physical shape. She looked up when I stepped into her line of sight. For a moment, she didn't react. Her eyes blinked once, confused. Then recognition hit like a flicker of heat. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. We stared at each other. Two women who had shared bedrooms, birthdays, and bitter silences. Finally, she spoke. I heard you gave a speech. I did. They said you made us sound like monsters. I didn't blink. I said what happened. If it sounds monstrous, that's not mine to fix. She looked down at her phone, then back at me. Dad's still mad. I let out the softest breath. Of course he is. She shifted. He says you cut us off for nothing. I tilted my head. Then why does it still feel like everything? She didn't answer. A silence stretched between us, thick with things neither of us would say. Then quietly, she added, I lost the apartment. I raised an eyebrow. The one you moved into with my car? She flushed. They stopped paying for it. And you couldn't cover it? She stared at me. I'm trying. I didn't feel satisfaction, only confirmation. Chloe had always been the storm, and I'd always been the umbrella. Not anymore. I hope you figure it out, I said, but I'm not your fallback plan. I didn't ask. You never had to. Her jaw tightened, but there was no fight in her eyes anymore. Just the slow dawning of reality. I didn't owe her anything, not even the performance of sympathy. I nodded once and walked away. No drama, no grand exit line. Just footsteps on pavement and a freedom I no longer questioned. Back home, I opened the windows. Wind moved through the curtains like breath. I sat at the edge of my bed and opened my laptop. A new message from the conference director sat unread in my inbox. Subject: Keynote invitation. Next year's closing session. I clicked. Your story resonated more than we imagined. We'd be honored to have you back. This time as our final speaker. Let us know if you're willing. I sat with that sentence for a long time. Willing. That's what I'd forgotten all those years. Choice. I had been willing for so long to carry everyone else's chaos. To be the cushion, the buffer, the brake pedal. I'd internalized it as love. But love without boundaries is just obedience. I clicked reply and typed 2 words. I'm ready. The next day, I drove west. No destination. Just open roads and playlists I hadn't heard since college. The wind tangled my hair. The sky stretched wider than I remembered it ever being. I passed hills and signs for towns I couldn't pronounce. And for once, I didn't calculate how long it would take to get back. I stopped at a lookout. Empty except for an older couple holding hands and a stray dog sniffing a bush. I parked, stepped out, and stood at the edge of the guardrail. Wind tugged at my sleeves. This was the road I used to dream about. The one with no one calling me back, no one scolding me for being gone too long, no one needing me to explain why I left. Just a red car, a horizon, and me. At sunset, I sat on the hood and opened a new notebook. First page. I don't need a new family. I just need to redefine what family means. And then, family is not who shares your name. It's who shares your respect. Family is not who you owe. It's who shows up without a receipt. Family is not permanent, but healing can be. That night, I checked my phone once. No new voicemails, no texts, no Chloe, no Dad. Just a message from Claire. Heard you're on the road. That's my girl. Keep going. I replied with a photo. Sunset bleeding into the clouds, a caption beneath. No rear view. I didn't need anyone to see it, but it felt good to send. And maybe that's the point. That healing isn't about being witnessed. It's about not needing to be. I turned off my phone. The sky was full of stars I hadn't noticed before. And for the first time in a long, long time, I slept like I had nowhere to be except here. No weight on my chest. No voices in my head. No guilt curling like smoke in the corners. Just a quiet so whole it felt like a beginning. And maybe, just maybe, it was. It was the last Sunday in October when the letter arrived. Handwritten, no return address, just my name in heavy ink. I stared at it for a moment. Part of me wanted to drop it in the trash unopened. But some things need to be read. Not for answers, but for closure. Inside, the writing slanted hard to the right, as if it had been pressed too forcefully. My father's handwriting. Natalie, I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even expect you to finish this. But you should know, your silence is louder than any shouting you've ever done. I thought I was protecting the family. But maybe I was just protecting my control. There was no apology. Just that. His version of an admission. It wasn't enough. But it was something. A week later, I walked into the same diner we hadn't visited together in over 10 years. I'd chosen the place deliberately. Neutral, ordinary, impossible to sentimentalize. He was already there, seated at a booth by the window, nursing a cup of coffee like it might explain his past to him if he stirred it long enough. When he saw me, something flickered across his face. Not surprise, not guilt, just fatigue. Like he was already tired of defending what he knew couldn't be defended anymore. I didn't hug him. I didn't smile. I sat down across from him and folded my hands. I got your letter, I said. He nodded. I wasn't sure you would. I almost didn't. A beat. He glanced out the window. Your mother wanted to come. I raised an eyebrow. Why didn't she? She said you wouldn't want that. She was right. Another pause. You look good, he offered, voice flat. I am good, I replied. Not that anyone asked before. He inhaled deeply, then exhaled like he was trying to collapse into himself. I'm not here to fight. I know, you've already lost. That stopped him. He blinked, his jaw tightening. I didn't come here to hurt you, I added, but I'm not going to soothe you either. He looked away, then back. You think I'm the villain. I think you made me believe love was something I had to earn, I said calmly. That obligation was the same thing as devotion. And when I stopped performing, you punished me for it. His hand curled slightly around his cup. I did what I thought was right. Number you did what was easy. You fed Chloe with my sacrifice. You silenced me to protect her illusion of helplessness. And when I finally stood up, you called me selfish. He didn't argue. I was 16 when I paid my first utility bill. Do you remember that? He blinked again, slowly. You said the account had overdrafted. I covered it because you told me real family helps each other. That's not a lie, he muttered. It is, I said, steady. When helping is always one direction, that's not family. That's extraction. A long, painful quiet settled between us. Finally, he spoke. Your mother cries at night. I stared at him. So did I. You just never heard it. His eyes dropped. Chloe doesn't call anymore, he said softly. I'm not surprised. She only shows up when someone's footing the bill. He swallowed. We thought we were protecting her. You disabled her. The words landed like stone. He didn't argue. Maybe for the first time, he couldn't. I stood. I'm not asking you to fix it. I've done that for myself. What I am asking is for you to live with what you built. Don't call it love. Call it favoritism. Call it fear. But stop calling it family. He didn't stand. He didn't plead. He looked up, and in his eyes, I saw something unfamiliar. Loneliness. I didn't soften. I didn't comfort. Instead, I laid a single folded paper on the table, my official declaration removing him and my mother from all remaining financial records, will, insurance contacts, and next of kin listings. It wasn't vindictive. It was practical. I wish you well, I said, but from here on out, your road is yours alone. And I walked away. Outside, the wind pulled at my coat. I didn't look back. There was nothing behind me I hadn't already survived. 3 months later, I heard through Claire that my father had stopped attending Sunday dinners. He spent most of his time at home, watching TV in silence, refusing to talk about anything beyond the weather. Chloe had moved 2 states away. She'd gotten a job, briefly, and quit within a month. She hadn't sent a card on his birthday. Mom still sent the occasional voicemail. I didn't answer. I listened once, just once. Her voice cracked halfway through. Your father misses you. Then silence, as if even the air around her didn't believe it. I didn't reply. There was nothing cruel in my choice, just finality. One evening, I found myself driving past my childhood neighborhood. Not intentionally. The route was faster and the traffic was light. But there it was. The old street, the leaning mailbox, the sagging roofline. I didn't stop, but I rolled the window down. And for a brief second, I let the cold air in. The smell of leaves, pavement, a distant chimney. Then I turned the music up and drove on. I thought of him sometimes, not with anger, not with grief, just clarity. He would grow old, surrounded by the very silence he'd once demanded from me. Not out of spite, but consequence. You cannot teach your children that love means silence and expect company when the house grows quiet. You cannot raise someone to expect nothing and then feel betrayed when they leave with nothing left to give. I found a new kind of peace in that. Not revenge, just reality. And in that reality, I built something better. Something mine. What they stole was never just a car. It was the silence they thought she'd never break. But when Natalie stopped asking for fairness and started enforcing it, the entire balance shifted. Sometimes justice isn't loud. It's meticulous, strategic, and irreversible. Like a storm that clears the air, the truth once spoken makes space for peace. Because when injustice is met with quiet resolve, even the strongest manipulations eventually collapse. If you've ever been underestimated, ignored, or used in the name of family, this story is for you. Don't forget to like, share, and comment your thoughts. It gives me the motivation to keep bringing you more stories like this one.